What a run. What a run. After not taking this game very seriously, I actually made a top 500. Although I have been decaying a little bit because initially I was around here, the 483 mark. But of course I'm decaying because I haven't played today at all. But I wanted to go over some pretty cool stuff. I made top 500 on Showdown OU ladder. Very cool, right? Considering that OU is one painful headache to deal with. I love playing Pokemon, but man, on a competitive standpoint, Jesus Christ, this game is disgusting. But anyways, guys, what's up? We're going to go over some replays, how I feel about reaching top 500, and yeah, let's begin. So, it took me about, since the beginning of the game, and after a couple suspect tests with some quick bends sprinkled in there, it took me about 3 months to get a top 500, which is actually the fastest time I've ever gotten to that point. I think last gen, it took me about 10 months after one wave of DLC in Generation 8 with the Isle of Armor. It took me quite a while. Now, this metagame, I don't know how I feel about this metagame. It feels weird. Like, I'm kind of glad Pokemon like Chi-Yu, Cyclizard, and Annihilate are freaking quick banned, because thank God. But then I see Pokemon like this. Ostrich-ass Pokemon, Emu, whatever the fuck this bird is. This Pokemon's a problem. Golden Go is still pretty good. I don't think it's bannable. Then you got Pokemon like these two that are just... They're always strangely good in any metagame that they're in. And then you got this Pokemon that's currently getting suspect tested right now. I think it's going to get banned. It's just not really defensive answers or play with it. So, yeah. So let's go over some replays. I do have 3 of them in particular that I wanted to highlight in regards to what I feel about this generation. So, let's begin. So, man, I don't know about y'all, but OU is always a very stressful metagame to play in. It's going to come down to whether you make the right plays. And sometimes you can make the perfect team, but all it takes is a couple moves to miss. All it takes is for you to misclick and everything just craps the bed. But regardless, I think Pokemon is still fun. Now, compared to other generations, for some reason, I'm not very excited in playing Pokemon anymore. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I'm playing other games and I'm starting to realize, holy crap, maybe I should be playing other games. But Pokemon is always going to be entertaining for me, regardless. But I always complain because Pokemon is a hot mess. Whether you're playing competitively or even casually. Like, I mean, you all saw how the Nintendo Switch game is working right now. So, there you go. This Pokemon right here, Espathra, needs to go. This Pokemon unbelievably takes advantage of a lot of misplays. It takes advantage of everything. Unless you have a Taunter or a Whirlwind user like this Tinglu that I got here, you're in a world of pain because this Pokemon is super duper annoying to deal with. I don't know how Game Freak thought this was a Pokemon that was allowed to even be designed in the first place. But man, this Pokemon gotta go. Luckily, I do have a counterplay with Whirlwind, so bye-bye. Anyways, yeah. I really love hyper offense and bulky offense teams, so obviously I'm very, very biased for that. I'm starting to appreciate more of defensive Pokemon like Tinglu, Amoonguss, and Rotom Wash. The good old reliable Rotom Wash. Always, always good. I have been building teams around such defensive Pokemon. Even Great Tusk, even though I technically see Great Tusk as probably one of the best two-way Pokemon, offensive and defensive Pokemon right now in the metagame. I really enjoy using defensive Pokemon. For the first time in quite a while, I really enjoy using bulky Pokemon that offer a defensive backbone. Like, I think this generation is making me appreciate that, considering we have disgusting Pokemon like this freaking Snow Leopard right here. And like I mentioned earlier, I do think this Pokemon is going to get banned. Probably by next week. Because I think the suspect test does end February 10th. And so, going through the ladder and playing a lot of ladder games, you know, it's always going to be the same. The first couple hundreds, you're going to go up against very offensive teams. Very rare that I go up against stall teams, which technically I've been facing right now, but they're pretty easy to deal with because people don't have a clue what they're doing. Look at this Chien-Pao and look at my opponent's team, bro. Absolutely disgusting. Just a demon, bro. Just straight up demon stuff going on around here. Of course, Espathra, you know, getting its own boost, whatever. Obviously, I can predict that knowing. And I gotta say something about terrestrialization. I think terrestrialization is giving a lot of Pokemon a bit too much of an advantage. And I mean a bit too much. Because look at Espathra. Espathra, Dragonite, Volcarona. I want to say probably Roaring Moon and Great Tusk and Hatterene take advantage of it. Just getting rid of its weaknesses and just straight up become a menace. Like in this example, I just straight up lose, even though like my opponent, I outplay my opponent for a pretty good chunk, and then I just straight up lose right here because this Pokemon's such a... Oh my god, I hate this Pokemon so much, man. I think this Pokemon gotta go. Anyways, that's my first rant right there. Now let's go on to another replay, and this is a really good example of what happens when you give a really good Pokemon, old reliable like Dragonite, a good terrestrialization mechanic. Look at my opponent's team. Obviously, we got Rain. Rain has been pretty good because now you got Greninja on the rise. Floatzel is just a demon with Terra Water. My team has 0 switch-ins to Rain, but you'll see how crazy it is that you can reverse sweep somebody in this generation. So, of course, Greninja is a brand new Pokemon that just got introduced in Scarlet and Violet. So, it's still a pretty good Pokemon, I will say. I don't see any problem with it. But I think terrestrialization is still an issue. Now, I know it survived the first suspect test, but barely. It barely survived it. And it's very interesting to see what will happen come Pokemon Home. Because obviously, we're going to get more Pokemon introduced, and maybe we'll see more Pokemon abusing terrestrialization. I can't imagine a Pokemon, let's say, I don't know what Pokemon's actually kind of come back via Pokemon Home, but let's say, for example, Landorus Therian form. Like, imagine just turning into ice and just getting rid of its ice weakness and just start obliterating things up. Especially with the fact that Terra Blast is a move. It's essentially its hidden power on crack. So a Pokemon like Landorus doesn't have to get any special attack investment. It doesn't need to, shapeshift its IVs or EVs depending on matchups. I do think terrestrialization is freaking annoying. Now look at this matchup, for example. Now, I'm setting up what's about to happen here. Like, let's say, for example, this Dragonite, it's gonna, I'm gonna try to get my Dragonance up. And then what I'm going to do here is, because I know the damage calcs here, I'm just going to get another Dragonance up, which kind of get lucky because I didn't get flinched. He tears into water. I tear into normal. Extreme speed. Boom. It's killing this Iron Jugulis. Now let's go to Azu. But wait, Azu can't Aqua Jet me because I have extreme speed. Boom. Dead. That crit didn't matter. Now we go to Floatzel. Yeah, Floatzel does have some bulk. But look, I'm +2 normal. Extreme speed. Bang. Gone. Now look at Palmon. Palmon, kind of Pokemon is that? Gone. I know you're going to throw a Mach Punch at me. It's not going to work. And there you go. Crazy reverse sweep. Insane reverse sweep. Terrestrialization, ladies and gentlemen. And then we're going to go into the final replay, which is the replay that got me into the top 500. It's so weird, and I don't know if, Showdown is listening to me while I'm inputting my teams, but every time I use an offensive team that relies on stat boost, this Pokemon is here. And then every time I use a non-stat boosting team, this Pokemon goes up against me. It's just weird. Man, the feds are watching. It's just, I don't know. Breloom. Now, Breloom actually is a really good Pokemon in the higher ladder because it can deal with Stall, and to a certain extent. It can deal with Toxapex. It can deal with Dondozo. In a way, it can kind of deal with the Great Tusk as long as you obviously are faster and put it to sleep, of course. I think Breloom is going to be a Pokemon that it's always, it's one of those Pokemon that it's always good regardless of what generation it is in. Now, obviously, in this matchup, it's actually going to come in clutch. I know it's burnt. You probably see it that it's burnt right now, but it's actually going to come clutch later on. Toxapex. Yeah, this Pokemon is somewhat back. Yeah, it did get nerfed, like pretty damn nasty. But I do think this Pokemon has a lot of cool stuff going for it. It's a good defensive wall versus a lot of Pokemon that might become problem. For example, Dragonite is one of its checks. Also, Roaring Moon to a certain extent, if you don't allow it to get its acrobatics and all that good stuff. And Spot Throw, if you get enough boost, you might be able to deal with the Toxapex, but Toxapex is still annoying, as always. I don't know why, man. Toxapex, man, was the bane of my existence in Generation 8, and it's slowly making a return in Generation 9. Obviously, like I said, with Pokemon Home, it might change. It might change a little bit. But see, now I got this Ostrich Pokemon in, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm going to go into my Earthworm. Earthworm actually is making some headlines here, too, which is pretty cool. I can mess up clicking Shed Tail. Earthworm is looking kind of clean in this generation. I'm not going to lie. It's looking kind of clean, bro. It's one of the best Shed Tail users. I mean, it's the only best Shed Tail user because Cycloser got banned. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting Pokemon. Pure Steel is something cool, I guess. You are immune to Toxic Spikes and Toxic, which is pretty prevalent in this metagame. And yeah, now we're going to go into the bird right here against the Chien-Pao. Now, obviously, I got a speed boost right there. I'm going to try to slice into the fairy, assuming he's actually going to attack. And this is where I think a Spot Throw is just a little too much. Like, the fact that you're about to see some crazy stuff. He's going to go into Tinglu, which is cool with me. I'm going to go for a Dazzling Gleam and just straight up kills the Tinglu. That's all right. Now I'm getting some stat boost because of speed boost. And now he goes into this Pokemon. I go for a Calm Mind because I want the stored power boost going. And you're about to see how much this does even against Unaware. Boom. 49 on the dot. He goes for a Hex. Doesn't do too much, really. I mean, it does a lot, but now you're going to see because of the stat boost, he goes to Chien-Pao. And yeah, I kind of predict that, like a boss, killing that. And now I still have some HP because, you know, it was natural poison. It wasn't badly poisoned. So now I go for a stored power. The crit didn't matter because if a 49, or I should say if lesser stat boost did 49, it's definitely going to do way more. And this is where Breloom comes clutch. I kind of do get lucky, but whatever. That's part of the game. That's what Pokemon is. That's why I think Pokemon will never be a very esports competitive game because it does come down to some luck. So Breloom, the boss himself. All reliable. Bullet Seed, Bullet Seed, Bullet Seed. I only get 3 hits. But my opponent here, it's going to run out of luck. So Bullet Seed, Bullet Seed, Bullet Seed, Bullet Seed. I get the 5 hits. And that's GG. And that literally shows how big of a mess Generation 8 is. And I actually beat somebody in the 1800s, which is crazy, but regardless. Yeah, Gen 8 is a hot mess. Go ahead and play it. It's your boy Franklin signing out. Peace.